Hello, friends. It is Friday, January 22nd, and coming to you with another video message for today. I know it looks like I'm standing on the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm actually over at Three Rivers Christian School, and this is the backdrop they have, picture they have here in a conference room where I'm filming this video. So I just figured it was a nice backdrop for today. So for today, I really just kind of wanted to reflect on this week. This has been a really significant week, a historic week, in large part just because of the inauguration. And that's true of any inauguration. I've tried over the last recent years, recent presidencies to tune into the inauguration because I feel that it is a historic moment. Each time it comes around, it's really a valuable part of our democratic process and of who we are as America with this transition of power, with president, vice president taking the oaths of office. It really is always significant. Again, no matter who it is that's being sworn in, no matter the party, no matter our preferences, it's significant. And so I had the privilege to really watch it this week, to take some time to do that in the morning, and it was really just struck again by just how great this nation is, and the fact that we have just the way in which we elect leaders and just our democracy and how unique it is in the world. But how powerful it is. And so perhaps you felt that way as well this week. And again, really, the point of this post is not to get political by any means. That's never my goal. But at the same time, I think as a pastor, but as Christians, we are called to reflect on reality and speak into the moments and things that are going on in our world and not be totally disengaged from that. And again, we have a different perspective as Christians, but that's important. We need to bring that perspective into the conversation that's going on. And so looking at this week too, I mean, it was historic. A huge piece of that was the fact that Kamala Harris, again, regardless of how you feel about her or her policies, it was historic to have our first female vice president. Was really significant and powerful and important for our country, for our world. Having a young daughter, that was really powerful to see and to know that there shouldn't be any limitations based on our gender, and so that was really powerful. But then also, obviously, the fact that Kamala Harris is a woman of color was significant as well. And I think especially significant given how we started the week on Monday with celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. and his legacy. And he's really become someone that I admire. Again, he was a pastor, and so as a pastor, there's a lot of admiration for him, but just as a human being, the way he conducted himself. But again, he was a devout Christian, and he really lived it out, right? He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk of what does it look like to be a follower of Jesus Christ, to be a peacemaker. And so I've been thinking a lot about him and his legacy, and again, that's why I thought the inauguration, that component of it was so powerful, given the work that he did. And as I've been reflecting on that, again, what I think made Martin Luther King Jr.'s work so powerful was the fact that it was all about nonviolence, that it was peaceful protests. Again, especially profound this year with all that we've seen, like over the summer, and protesting the ongoing racial inequality. And again, you see the ways in which that manifested. And again, as a white guy, I can never fully understand what it feels like to experience that ongoing oppression. And I try to empathize with anyone, whatever they're dealing with, especially when it's totally outside of my experience. But I was saddened to see, as I'm sure many of us were, how it devolved so quickly into violence and anarchy and all these things, and that's continued. I mean, even on Inauguration Day, there was just violence and anarchy in Portland, which made no sense to me. Why that just continues, and so, and then we saw 2 weeks ago with kind of a different um, spectrum or a group from within our country, likewise engaging in violence and anarchy and all that. And it's just so it's you can't just point at one side or the other. It's coming from every side. And so I think that's what makes Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy so powerful, is the fact that, again, he had all the frustration, all the anger that we've seen from others. He had every reason to lash out. And so I think it speaks to his strength and his character that he resisted that the way he chose to resist and to protest was peacefully. And that's so striking to me. And even more so now, I just think about how, what a great example he was. And that's something that I want to try to emulate, not only as a pastor, but as a follower of Jesus Christ, especially. So been thinking a lot about that, and thinking about the fact, kind of a theme, I guess, that's come up for me this week, is this whole idea of light and darkness. And we talk about that. I talk about it a lot. I know in my prayers, I talk about we want to share Christ's love and shine his light. But for some reason this week, I've been thinking much more about that. One reason, thinking about this quotation from Martin Luther King: darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I've always loved that statement by him. I think it's so powerful, so profound, because I think we've seen so much of that in this past year plus, where kind of the way to combat hate is with more hate. And that just keeps building. And you can just feel it in our country, the tension. And it's because there's so much of that. And so those words and the darkness just keeps feeling thicker and more ominous. And so to think about those words and take them to heart is so powerful that the only way to drive out darkness is with light. The only way to push back hate and drive it out is with love. And Dr. Martin Luther King lived that out. And we are called to live that out as followers of Jesus Christ. And so that I've been thinking about that a lot. Then at the inauguration, whether or not you watched it, I'm sure all of us have heard of this young woman, the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history, this poet laureate, Amanda Gorman. If you watched it, or if you've watched her speech or her poem after the fact, to me it was just striking, and it was so powerful and so profound, especially coming from this young woman. And she closed her poem with this statement: "There is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." And I was so struck by that. Again, this whole idea of being the light. And again, Jesus calls us, says, he says he is the light of the world. Then he says, you are the light of the world. And he says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. This whole idea that we are called to be the light. Are we brave enough to be that? Again, I think it's easier in a lot of ways to just respond to hatred with more hatred, or to anger with more anger, and just to lash out in that way. It takes self-control, it takes strength, it takes just a real commitment to following Jesus, to say, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to get drawn into that. I'm going to choose to be light. I'm going to choose to act with love. That really is not natural in many ways, especially for us as in this sinful, fallen world. But we need to do it, right? Those things of hate and anarchy and darkness and all that kind of stuff and evil, that's all par for the course here in our fallen world, right? That's all reflective of our fallen world. Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. The kingdom of Jesus is one of light, is one of love, is one of peace. And so that's what we are called to follow. That's how we are called to act. And I've been thinking also about this statement from 1 John 1, 5 through 7, these verses that kind of, I think, bring this all in. 1 John 1, 5 through 7. This is the message we have heard from him and declared to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. If we say we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not practice the truth. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanses us from all sin. Um, that's how we are called to live, right? Is to walk in the light, to be those who shine his light, who share his love. And I've just been thinking so much as I was watching the inauguration, as I've been reflecting this week on the fact that uh, I do have a lot of hope moving forward. There's talk of unity and how we can come together as a nation, and I still believe that. I still hang on to that. As divided as we are, those ideals, I cling to, and I'm trying to remain optimistic that we can get there. But here's the reality: like, we can't change anyone else, right? And to try to think of the whole system and our whole country, I mean, that can just seem so overwhelming. I think it's that piece, kind of like how Amanda Gorman said, if we, each one of us, are brave enough to be it, to be the light, um, we can only control ourselves, right? So the question is, are we brave enough to say, like Martin Luther King Jr., I'm going to stand on the side of peace. I'm going to stand on the side of love and being the light. That is our choice that we can make. When we get drawn in, or someone tries to draw us in to engage in a heated conversation, are we going to take the bait? Are we going to be tempted and succumb to that temptation? I talked about that last Sunday. Or are we going to say, nope, I'm not going there. I'm gonna I'm gonna resist this, and I'm gonna seek to be like Jesus in this moment. I just want to encourage you in that. We can't control anyone else, right? We can't control the overall direction of our country, but we can control ourselves. And if every single person, but especially every single Christian, right, takes those words to heart, says, I'm going to be in the light. I'm going to be a light in this dark world. It will have an impact. Just those interactions you have with another individual, if you are seeking to shine light into that moment, it will have an impact. And you never know, then it might impact them, and they might say, all right, I need to shine a bit more light and not add to the darkness. So I just want to encourage you with that, to take those words to heart, to each and every interaction you have with another human being, see it as an opportunity to be light, to shine light, to represent Jesus Christ well in that moment. I have great hope for our world because of people like Amanda Gorman, young people. Okay, I've been thinking about that so much. Sorry, this is getting long. I just want to wrap it up. The young people, I think of this, I guess, as a father of young children, they're looking to us. And what they've seen so much in this last year plus is just grown-ups acting so poorly and being so hostile and having so much hatred. So then to have this young woman, 22, stand up and deliver this profound, striking, hope-filled poem really just hit me. And so I think that we need to look to the younger generation, one, to lead, not just see them as insignificant, but to see them as leaders. But also, we need to take seriously our responsibility to be good role models and examples for them, and to show them what it looks like to live like Jesus, to love like Jesus, to shine his light, because they're watching, and we have a great responsibility. So friends, I want to encourage you with that today. God bless you this weekend. I look forward to to connecting with you at church on Sunday. Pastor Dave will be preaching Sanctity of Life Sunday. And for those of you who are there in person, look forward to seeing you there. For those of you connecting through the live stream or watching it later, I look forward to connecting with you in that way too. So God bless you, friends.